They've spread like a virus for almost a decade. You can't go anywhere on Norfolk Southern without seeing one. There's nearly 1,000 in the fleet, and it's growing every month. The GE AC44C6M is perhaps the new world order in diesel locomotives. And only now, years after their introduction, does their conquest reach the model railroad. In late 2024, Scaletrains announced the C6M as the newest addition to their acclaimed rivet counter line. One pre-order, many months, and a few tariffs later, this anticipated diesel made it to store shelves. While I was excited for my most modern engine yet, complete with DCC and ESU lock sound, the cost exceeding $300 loomed overhead. For some, that's chump change, but with this engine gaining the prestigious, if you could call it that, title of my most expensive model, the question remained if it could live up to the price tag. But we won't know that if it just stays in the box, so let's get this out. I've been waiting for it all year after all. Greeting me is the all-important instruction manual, which proved quite helpful in introducing me to this model's vast features. I would have liked to see pictures for disassembly of the locomotive, something that can normally be a tedious task, but much of the manual is well detailed with sound settings and functions all laid out. True to the rivet counter range, the unit features an abundance of painted and separately applied details, especially on the front and rear pilots. Rotating bearing caps and weathered wheels are a few more highlights. While it's pleasant to see a commoner freight engine look so well, it's time to stop the drooling and crank this thing up. Okay, start the drooling again. These have got to be the best startup and shutdown sequences I've ever heard on an HO locomotive. The horn and bell are also spot on to a C6M, as they're a bit unique to Eastern railroads. And like many modern decoders of mine, the bell automatically activates alongside the horn. At varying speeds, the throttling up or down is very evident in the roar of the engine, and even when coming to a standstill, the brakes can be heard in action. I do wish, however, that there were a few more sounds to be heard in this engine, like an option for grade crossing sequences, or even better, some crew chatter. But the noise the engine does make is still by all means an impressive show, all the while running smooth as butter, even at a crawl. Now, to give one quick side note to the sounds, I did look at a few other reviews of this locomotive just to get a consensus of some of the opinions, and I have heard a few people criticize the sound system on this engine for supposedly having been previously used on the Scaletrains 9 models. And in a perfect world, it would have been nice if this had a uniquely C6M sound file, but I'm not terribly bothered by that because it's not a significant difference, and the sounds are still very good, and it sounds like with the ESU decoders there is another sound file available, I'm pretty sure. So I just wanted to quickly address that. Reused or not, these sounds are still beautiful. Though I can't leave this engine hauling trains all alone, let's give it some friends. The programming side of DCC is still a bit daunting to me, but changing this engine's speed settings was just as easy as any other, thanks in part to some help from the manual. And in no time at all, the C6M was getting the job done with its fellow equestrian colleagues. The sounds might have been my favorite feature on this engine if it wasn't for some bright competition. Headlights, rear lights, ditch lights that flash with the horn, Ground lights, walkway lights, lights for distributed power. This thing is lit. I don't know how many other engines of mine, except for the ALC42, have so many lighting effects. It's not a hard engine to miss coming down the track with lights as good as these. Speaking of the ALC42, this engine not only dethroned it in the high price record, but also for the honor of my most advanced locomotive. And as a bonus, it comes in a much better box. All of that circles back to the all-important question: was the C6M worth that big bad price? Yeah, this thing is awesome. I may not be used to models as big ticket as this, yet, but this engine is a good example of how a high-end model can indeed deliver. You must also remember that this is the first true AC44C6M model ever made. I say true because this is not a repainted AC4400, it is not a one-time custom job, it's the first mainstream model of its kind, which not only makes it in high demand, but also means there was a fair amount of new tooling that went into this thing, confirmed by the Scaletrains crew. Also confirmed is that, just like the real thing, this won't be the last we'll see of the C6M. Future runs of this engine could be on the way, perhaps in the special paint schemes of NS, though even more so I'd like to see other road names, as C6Ms continue to arrive on more railroads. And even if you don't have DCC, these are available in DC, somewhere in the $200 mark as well, so everyone can enjoy a C6M. With smooth running, great sounds, wonderful lighting, and detail that is worthy of the rivet counter range, this is a model that will fit right in on any modern-themed railroad. They may be taking over the East Coast, but that makes them perfect for a layout in that setting. It sure fits like a glove on mine.